I'm Marvin and welcome to Trust Fund Baddies podcast, episode 1. The long-awaited moment. I know you guys have been sitting, waiting anxiously for me to release this podcast, and here we are. I wanted to really give you a bit of my background, where I'm from, who I really am, and just share with you my journey to what has inspired this moment. You know, we've grown from a satire joke into a strong community in a revolutionary moment. So myself, I am from Cameroon, West Africa, the village of Baturi. So think of the slums and think one level below that. That is my origin, right? So I was born in humility. Like Bain said, he was raised in darkness. I was truly raised in humility. And I have lived a very unique life that has allowed me to see every spectrum of life, from the very low tier to the very upscale, upper echelon, pinnacle that any man or woman can reach on the face of this earth. I've been able to see a bit of it all. And so I'm from the village of Maturi. It is a very small village, no running water, no electricity, no paved roads. I moved to Orangeburg, South Carolina when I was 4. My dad was in the Peace Corps, and so that's what allowed him to be stationed in Cameroon. He's from New York. My mom is a native Cameroonian, so bada bing, bada moi. So Orangeburg, South Carolina, that is where I spent my formative years. I went to Howard University, majored in economics, worked in corporate finance as a background. I did everything from the JP Morgan. When I graduated, worked at IBM. I was doing data science. I quit my job and moved to California to start my company, which is actually an event management company called Foreign. We do event management for luxury apartments, everything from group fitness classes like yoga, Pilates, boxing, HIIT, to also hosting parties. And so that is my life. I am the young Cameroonian boy who, was born in humility, and I am heading to honor. One of my favorite Bible verses, before honor, there is humility. And so I want you gentlemen to know that I am not, this advocator of pursuing and securing trust fund baddies and rich women because I'm a man that was born into wealth. No, I am a self-made man. I am a self-made trust fund man, for that matter. And I'm an individual that, although I wasn't born rich, I want to make sure that when I do leave this earth, there will be a legacy for my children and their children's children, And so that is my message to you all, is that no matter where you're from, no matter, what your origin is, you can still create, a vast and abundant life that you have for yourself. And so this is what Trust Fund Baddies community is all about. It's about taking the common man and allowing him to, head for royalty. And so this is what we want, and I want you guys to engage with me, ask me questions. You can send me Instagram messages. I'm very engaged also on my, every platform, TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube. And so I want to be a voice and also an educator for all of you. So please, connect with me, send me different topics you think would be interesting for us to discuss. When I grew up, I looked in the Forbes magazine, and it was the list of the richest people in the world. I went to the very top of the list, and I said, okay, who is it? Warren Buffett. What does he do? Hedge fund manager. That is what I wanted to be growing up. I wanted to be a hedge fund manager. But once I got to Wall Street, and I realized that the lifestyle wasn't as glamorous, nor were the people as interesting, I decided to veer off and take a more adventurous path, which has led me to you all. So now I am, the prophet, as you guys like to refer me. That is my calling now in life. Growing up, I used to be afraid of failure. I think I've always been a very hypercritical individual in terms of my own performance, and I used to always fear not being able to live up to the potential I knew I had within myself. But as I've gotten older, I've learned to just really trust, the process, trust the beaten path that you just haven't walked yet, because there's a lot of miraculous things that can happen any moment of your life. This is something for me that I never truly imagined. I thought that I would be the rich guy in the background just making money, minding his business, but I've turned into a personality and a voice for people, and I embrace that humbly and graciously, and so I'm very happy with that. And so I would say, whatever it is you fear, there's no reason to fear it other than fear itself. My most traumatic experience with a broke woman is that I did everything I could for her. I got engaged and was willing to almost give up my life and livelihood for her, just to find out that she was cheating on me and had an abortion behind my back. And this was post-engagement. So as you can imagine, ever since then, I have been going to war against broke women. And you know what? Until I lay into my grave, it is going to be a lifetime battle, because you all will pay. You will pay. I have failed. I honestly felt like my broken engagement was my biggest failure up to that point in my life. I just felt like, I was someone that, I wouldn't say I was necessarily a perfectionist, but everything that I've done up to my life was always about excellence. And I never really failed in the public eye too, in the sense of, all my friends and family knowing about my situation, not even, the infidelity that occurred during it, but just all the sacrifices I was making to, have a life with her. And so that was honestly my biggest failure. But I would say that your biggest failures always turn into your biggest blessings. Because of that, I gained so much knowledge and maturity as a man. I like to say that my broken engagement felt like a divorce. I know that's a very drastic thing to say, but for my own experience, I can say that that's how traumatic it was. I went through a lot of the cycles of even a war veteran in terms of PTSD, survivor syndrome. So a lot of people like to underestimate the side effects on relationships and breakups on men, but it can be very tragic, to be honest. And so I like to really stress that as a man, make sure you seek just someone to talk to about your issues and your struggles. Don't live with everything bottled up, because eventually you can implode. There are men that take their life because of heartbreak, and I want to be able to create a community and a platform to where everyone can feel okay about what happened, because it is a very normal thing. Although a lot of men don't discuss it, but that's nothing that should ever make a man lose it all because of heartbreak. It should, if anything, allow a man to turn within and just focus on improving the quality of his life and, becoming more locked in on his dreams and aspirations. And you have to channel the pain and turn it to gain. And so this is what the Trust Fund Baddie community is about. This is what this podcast is about. I've been able to take my life experiences and I'm now transmitting them into opportunities for you all to not only learn from my mistakes, but to make better decisions in your dating life and also pass that on to your family, friends, and eventually even your children, right? Because as men, we pass things down from one generation to the next. My childhood was very structured. I didn't really have the typical, careless childhood of most. I would say that, just being raised in a single parent household, that's for one thing, right? I should probably mention that. I lost my mother when I was 1 year old, so my dad actually went back to Cameroon to find me and move me to America, and so that is the beginning to foreshadow, what my childhood was like. Being raised in a single parent household, my dad's working 2 jobs, trying to provide, being watched over by my grandmother, and so when I was home outside of, doing my schoolwork, I was doing a lot of, housework around the house, trying to take care of chores and help my grandmother out. She was always somebody that was always educating me, both in scripture and also in everything else surrounding life. She's one of the first individuals that taught me about finance and checking balances. So I like to always say that I gained my personality from my dad, but my business acumen I got from my grandmother. She is a very meticulous and calculated woman. So my childhood was spent learning and helping around the house. My Christian background has shaped everything about my life. I grew up going to Bible study on Tuesdays and church on Sundays. And, sometimes I was annoyed, but I loved it. It gave me a lot of structure for the man I am now. It gave me the foundation. I can think of my darkest moments in life, and God is who pulled me through. And anytime I need to lean and rely on anything, I lean and rely on God. That is my strength. That is my protector, my savior, my provider. When I went through the situation of being cheating on and my engagement, post-engagement is when I found out, but when I discovered that, and honestly just even going through the engagement ended, I just really had to pray and rely on God to carry me out and give me the strength and just to help me heal from it. It's been I like to say that certain experiences in life, it becomes a scar you just learn to live with. And so for me, I would say that I've been able to find peace in it because of, just my relationship with God and just praying and finding strength in my prayers. And so I'm just very grateful for everything. All things work together for our good. And so had it not been for the betrayal, I wouldn't be here utilizing my voice on this platform to help connect with other men who have either experienced the same thing or I'm helping you to not experience it. So Trust Fund Baddies started as a joke. I posted on Instagram, I said, 2025, we're going to start dating like a modern woman. So if you don't have a trust fund, I don't trust there's any longevity in our relationship. So that got like 100,000 views and whatnot. And then I posted another video that consisted of, if a girl's asking for money, that means her daddy is broke because why is she not already good? If her daddy had money, that means she would need your money, but because her daddy doesn't have money, that means she needs your money. And so that took off as well. And so it was about a few other videos I posted in a week, and I got like 1,000+ likes on those videos. And I said, all right, well, maybe we have something here. And that was kind of the aha moment for me with Trust Fund Baddies. And since then, it's just been millions of views per month and, thousands of followers later. I just created the term Trust Fund Baddie loosely. I honestly just like to make a lot of different vernaculars of my own. And so just, even amongst like friends, I would just use the term Trust Fund Baddie. But my first time using it on Instagram, that's when I realized that, I just coined a new phrase. And so that's just been a word that I would just use with friends when I would be describing like the type of girl I'm looking for. I want to go with a girl with money, so I want a Trust Fund Baddie. So it just kind of came out of thin air. And before things started taking off, I was posting consistently since like November of 2024. So the reason I even started posting on Instagram to begin with, I was on a TV show called The Bachelorette. And so I did the show, and after the show was over, I said, okay, I should use this momentum and use this opportunity to just grow my social following because that's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And so after the show last summer, I started just curating content, kind of trying to find a lane. A lot of it was probably comedy, which is probably why I am still really posting a lot of comedic-related content because I just like to laugh. And so I just started posting a lot of comedy-related content. And then eventually I just started also just showing a bit more of my personal life and my background and making like motivational content. But November is when I had one of my first breakthrough posts reach like 100,000 views. And then from there, now we've hit 1 million views, 1.8 million on TikTok. And on Instagram, I've also hit 1 million. I have like another video approaching 1 million. And so, if I could give any advice about content, just make it. Like this right now, I just ordered what was the most popular content camera right now for influencers, and here I am making a podcast, and I'm just winging this whole process. That's the beauty of it. You guys are going to grow with me on this journey. You're going to see me not only improve in terms of my storytelling, in terms of my community, even in terms of just the man that I am. You're going to just see my journey, and that's the beauty of all of this. We're all on our own journey, and so pick up a camera and just start recording, and you just never know where your life may turn out. Because I know for myself, a year from today, I want to be smiling and just thanking God that I picked up a camera and just sat in front and connected with the world. So for me, the future looks very bright. I just released a project called Trap, so we get the mixtape right now. I shot a video for that in Brazil, so we're going to be releasing that very soon. It's going to be a tragedy video. But outside of that, I just have so much planned too with the Trust Fund Baddie community. We have Trust Fund Baddie Academy, which is available. We're going to be doing a Trust Fund Baddie Day in Santa Monica in July. I have a Europe trip I'm planning in July as well. We have some more destinations too. We're going to do a little US tour in June. And so you guys can expect more podcast episodes. The Trust Fund Baddie newsletter is available. I want to make sure I put all the links for that. We're going to have some merch coming, but just expect this to be a full production. This is going to be a Steven Spielberg, Martin Scorsese level production. So Trust Fund Baddie, eventually at some point you might see us on Netflix. Some major network is going to want to pick this up because what we have to offer is really valuable. We're showing that this is a new generation of men. We know what we want, we know what we deserve, and we know what we're going to get. So I can give any advice to any of you that are seeking a Trust Fund Baddie. Number one thing is to know yourself, know your truth, live in your truth, and to be confident about who you are. Be confident in your natural God-given abilities. You are more than your money. You are more than your wallet. You are the core values that have been instilled in you since childhood. You are the virtues and principles that you want to instill into your seed. And so remember that being a man is about legacy. And we're going to secure a Trust Fund Baddie to make sure that our legacy is forever going to be solidified in generational wealth.